Guys, would you grab hold of a Bible and join us tonight? We are in the book of Psalms. We're making our way through there, chapter or two at a time, depending. Tonight's going to be one. Going to be in chapter 63, and our desire is that this psalm would speak into your life in a powerful way. So again, we're asking, our hope is that you brought a Bible, you are opening one of ours, you're opening it on an electronic device, whatever that is, so you could follow along so that in this moment, God would speak to you through His Word. And His Word speaks life. His Word does things that my words cannot do. His Word enters into, and God speaks of His Word not returning void, and there's power to it. I mean, I just want you to hear that. I just want you to be able to, in many ways, hear what God would say to you through His Word, to speak to you into your heart and life, and longing that it would be so. So let's take a moment. Go before God right now once more in prayer and ask Him that we would hear what that would be. Father, I love the power of your word. You describe it in Hebrews as living and active. And that's exciting because, Lord, right now I know that that's true, that your word is alive, that it does things, that it accomplishes things that I cannot see. And it's active. It's a powerful thing. It accomplishes things inside of us. Please do that tonight. Please speak by your word into us. And so I'm just asking, Lord, that nothing would block that. That you would just give us hearts to hear you tonight, that you would just give us attentiveness, that you would give us strength, that you would touch us wherever that's needed, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Lord, that you would bring about just those things that would cause us to be receptive to you and what you're saying to us tonight. We ask for your help. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. So have you seen some of those pictures that people put online, the memes kind of things? You know, you had one job kind of thing. We were having one of those discussions today at work. I don't even know how we got there. We were in our staff kind of prayer time. We were just talking about how sometimes, like the main thing is someone's supposed to do, they don't do. It's like the main thing they're supposed to be accomplishing, and you sit there and think, okay, just do this one thing, get it right, and then it goes wrong. And we were thinking about that and then starting to pray, and Cindy was saying a prayer, and she just kind of tied it into where we were. And she said, really, the truth is, we have one thing. When it comes into our lives, there's one thing that really is to define the Christian's life. You see it every week, right? I hope when you come in, you see it on the door. We say it all the time. Jesus said there's the greatest commandment. The greatest commandment is that you would love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. That is your one thing. That is the greatest thing. That is, if you wanted to say it that way, and I hope it's not offensive, but you have one job. You have one thing. Everything else is secondary. Everything else in life is secondary. You have one thing that's supposed to define your life. That you would love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Jesus said, this is the first. This is the greatest commandment. So all the way through the Bible, God's speaking to us about that. Everywhere in the Word of God, God is talking to us about this single great thing that you and I need to be about. And the scary thing is it's just very, very possible to mess up the one thing that you're supposed to be doing. Tonight we're going to be there. We're going to be looking at Psalm 63, and again, that theme of loving God is all the way through the Bible. You really could get there in any passage. But the theme of this psalm really is that. I mean, its thematic thing is to speak to us about this, to kind of call us into a place where that would be life to us, where God would be what we're after, where God would be what we're seeking. And I'm just wanting to tell you where we're going. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to say it in words from different directions, but we're essentially going to be saying the same thing. There's one thing you need. There's one great commandment, and that is to love God. And I don't know if that just meets you right now. I don't know if that kind of creates in you any kind of desire this evening or any kind of like, well, that's what I need. But I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you, what? It's what I need. I found myself just approaching through this psalm today, and I thought, what? This is exactly what I need to hear. I mean, this is. Whatever else I'm facing, this is the main thing, and I need this, and I need to hear this, and I'm hoping that God would speak into your life in a very similar way. Well, let's kind of notice how it begins. You're there, Psalm 63. In verse 1, it begins this way. It says, "O God, You are my God. That opening statement in many ways launches the salvo just that says, hey, this is what this is. Where David's just saying God, and he's speaking to God. He says, God, you're mine. You are my God. You are my God. And everything else is going to talk about what that is, about what God would be. And everything else through the rest of this psalm is going to help us kind of get there and speak about that. Now, we know that David writes this somewhere from the wilderness. That's what it tells us. You can go back and see it in the inscription. It says it's a psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judea. So David's somewhere. He's not in Jerusalem. He's not a king at this moment. He's in the wilderness, and we don't really know what season of David's life it is. It's very, very possible for you guys who have an understanding of David's life that he writes this in the days that he's on the run from Saul, and Saul is hunting him, and he spends, just 10 years really on the run and spending much of the time in the wilderness. It could be in that season he writes this psalm. It could also be on the season that he's on the run from Absalom, that he ends up in the wilderness of Judea again and kind of writing it. And Bible students are really split. They're like, well, we think it might be here, and we think it might be here, and there are some interesting things, but here's the simple understanding. It doesn't really change the meaning of the psalm. What David was facing in that moment, it's not key to understanding. It just happened to be in that season of his life. It was one of those moments where he just was coming back to this main thing, to keep the main thing, which is God. And so somewhere he's doing that. Now, I like that because right now I can just tell you, wherever you are tonight, wherever you are, maybe it's a good season in your life, you're like, everything's going well, this is a psalm for you. Maybe it's a bad season, like you're like, things are going really bad, like it seems scary, like I have no idea how the next days are going to work out. This could be a psalm that David writes from a similar situation. You might be in turmoil, you might be in peace. It might be difficult, it might just be hard. It might be easy, it might be clear. I mean, it doesn't really matter because wherever that is, what David's speaking about comes through every season of life and would draw us into it. In this psalm, there are words that, again, we're just going to read them. And I think all by themselves, they're going to make impact. I'm going to kind of try to put an outline to it that will help us kind of arrange our thoughts around it. But at the end of the study, the main thing is just to hear what God's saying. And I think that it's possible that one of these phrases are just going to be for you. You're going to be like, okay, we talked about God the whole evening, but that one, like that description was like, that's me right now. I needed that one. And I hope you'll get it because around all of this, God's going to be speaking. Now, this psalm is interesting, by the way. John Chrysostom, who is one of the early just church, kind of pastors that we have back from, late 300s AD, he said of this psalm, he said, no day should pass without the public singing of this psalm. It's like we should sing this song every day. This psalm needs to continually it's not one of those ones that's like, well, that's a good one every now and then. It's a good one for rough seasons. It's like, we should sing this song every day. I mean, because what it speaks about, what it calls us to is so incredible. So David just begins it by making the statement again, oh God, you're my God. It's personal for David. It's real in his life. And he's saying, I don't know where it is for anybody else that's here this evening, but he's saying, for me, my God is God. God is my God. And he begins to just talk about, in this first section, just a number of phrases that speak about his desire and the way that he's seeking God. Notice how he says it. Verse 1, O God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. David looks on this and he just says, this in my life means this. I'm going to seek God first. I'm going to seek him early. And early could speak of in the day, like early in the day, but it speaks of more than that, like a high priority. Think about what Jesus would say when he would tell us, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And that's the idea. Hey, seek God first. Seek God as your highest priority. Seek him early. Because here's the simple understanding. There are things that you make a priority, and the things that you put high on that priority that you do, if you will, first, those are the things you get done. There are a lot of other things that we mean to get around to. And sometimes days happen and we cross off a lot of things on our list. And then some things leave themselves undone. And like probably for most of us, we're like, okay, not just some things, like a lot of things leave themselves undone. Like, how did I not get more done today? But if you seek God early, if you seek Him first, you'll never miss that. And David's like, I'm going to, God, for me. And it's a decision of His will. It's a decision of His choice. He says, for me, I'm seeking God. I'm going to seek Him early. I'm going to seek Him, the idea maybe at the beginning of the day and make sure that the day doesn't get away without me kind of putting God first. And then it's not just like that's how it's going to stay there and then I forget about Him the rest of the day. The idea is I'm going to start and I'm going to continue, and God's going to be the thing that I seek because it is Him that I need. I don't want to make this any kind of legalistic thing, but can I just encourage you? I just cannot think of a better way for you to start the day. It doesn't have to look the same in your life as it looks in anybody else's life. But I just want to tell you, it would be a good way for you to begin every day with a recognition, I need God today. Whatever else this day holds, whatever else this day is, whatever else I need Him today, and I need Him more than I need other things. And so I'm going to begin my day with Him. And I just want to encourage you, again, whether that's long or short, that you might consider, hey, this is a good way to begin your days. It's a good way to start your day to say, I want to begin it with God. I want to begin it with seeking Him. For David, that's what he's saying. He says, early will I seek you. And then he describes it this way. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land. David says, here's the thing. My soul, it longs for God. You might want to just catch this. There's going to be 3 times in this psalm that David's going to speak about his soul this way, where he's going to talk about what he's longing for. It's not just a surface longing. There's something deep here. It's like deep inside it, like the real me, the person, the soul, the idea is what I am underneath there. He's going to say, that's where I'm really speaking about these things. And David says, when I look at this right now, my soul longs for God. My soul, it longs for Him. I mean, I have a craving. That's the idea of the thirst. I have this unquenchable thirst, and that thirst is for God. And he describes it as it being in a dry and weary land where there is no water. Maybe David being in the wilderness is making him think about this. But it's really, quite honestly, an incredibly good description. It's visual, and it's accurate. I can tell you right now that you have been created. You have been created for a relationship with God, and nothing else in this world will ever satisfy you. You live, as it were, in a desert where there is no water. I mean, if you could almost feel that, if you could almost feel what that would be like to be in the middle of a desert and you're thirsty, and it's not like, I have, multiple options here. There's like nothing else out here. There's nothing else that satisfies. There's nothing. I have a craving. I have this inside longing, and I'm in a world that cannot satisfy that longing. I'm in a place that cannot do that. Augustine said it well in one of the most famous quotes, where he simply put it this way. He said, you have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. We've been designed for God, and our hearts will never find rest until they find it in Him. There is nothing else in this world that can satisfy your soul. There is nothing else that can do that. James Montgomery Boyce said it this way. He said, most people do not even know that it is God their souls truly desire. They are seeking satisfaction in other things. They keep hoping that those things will satisfy, and they're not going to satisfy. Nothing else will. Isaiah would say it this way, God speaking through Isaiah, why do you spend your money for what is not bread? Oh, and your wages for what does not satisfy. Listen carefully to me, God says, and eat what is good, and let your soul delight itself in abundance. He says, why? Why would you be spending, so much of your days and your life seeking something that's never going to satisfy you? Why would you spend your money for bread, for what's not bread, your wages for what doesn't satisfy? What God says is what you need is what I have. Listen carefully to me, because this is the only way that your soul will delight itself in abundance. This is the only place that that's going to happen. It's found in God, and I'm saying this right now, and I wish everybody in this room fully believed that, but that's just not the case. Some of you got it. Some of you are like, yeah, that's true. That's true. God is the only thing that makes life worth doing. God is what I need with my life. I need him every day. But our world is dead set on seeking it in other places. Solomon would write the book of Ecclesiastes much about this, as he would talk about, you search for life, and he kind of pictured it in different pursuits. He said, if you're going to seek it, your pleasures to be what satisfies, and he would say emptiness of emptiness. Like, I tried to make life satisfying by pursuing pleasure, and it was empty. It was like chasing after a rainbow. So I thought, well, no, maybe it's success. Maybe if success is what I need, that would satisfy. And he says, I poured all my efforts into success. And it was vanity of vanities, he says. It was just empty. So I tried, earning money and getting rich, and that was empty. And he just goes through pursuit after pursuit after pursuit and says, none of these things will satisfy your heart. But here's the deal. Some of you are thinking it will. Nobody here is satisfied with anything less than God. I can guarantee that. There's not anybody who here is going to be like, no, I'm actually really satisfied because I have a new TV. It is like I'm totally satisfied now. I mean, I don't need anything else in life because I got the new plasma TV and I'm just so happy. And no, that's not where you are. There's nobody here in this room that is satisfied. I mean, soul satisfied with anything else. But some of you are trying because you kind of think, well, it's not here yet. But if I just get that promotion, once I get that promotion, I get that job, that's going to make my soul feel satisfied. I'm going to be, this emptiness inside me is going to be satisfied as soon as I get that position. Somebody else is like, no, that's not going to do it. I know it's really not going to do that. I'm kind of waiting when I get married. That's going to satisfy my soul. When I have kids, when I have grandkids, I mean, whatever it is, it's like when I get there, that's going to be, I'm not there yet, but I'm after it because I know that when I get that, that's going to make me satisfied. No, it's not. It's just not. We live in a dry and weary land where there is no water, and your soul is thirsting. Your soul is thirsty for what only God can be. David just again describes it. He says, my soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and weary land where there is no water. Can I just tell you? There's nothing else that's going to satisfy your soul. If you are pursuing anything else to bring just that heart emptiness, and I don't even know how to describe that better, but every one of you has it. Ecclesiastes would describe it almost as an emptiness inside us, that our hearts are set on eternity, as if there's just a hole inside of us. Nothing else will satisfy that but God. Nothing. Nothing. If you're looking for something else to make life worth living, you're not going to find it outside of him. There's one thing and one thing only. So for David, as he's saying this, he kind of continues that thought and locks it in this way in verse 2. And he says, so I have looked for you in the sanctuary to see your power and your glory. He says, here's what I am. I'm looking for you. God, I'm seeking you. I'm looking for you. And he's looking in the sanctuary. Now that makes sense. The sanctuary in those days, the tabernacle, later the temple, this place where God's presence would be known. And David says, it's there that I'm looking for you. But here's what I want to just tie into this moment. Wish everybody was. I wish everybody was. Isaiah would say it this way, as he looks for this, as he spoke about it, he says, therefore the Lord said, inasmuch as these people draw near to me with their mouths and honor me with their lips, but they have removed their hearts far from me. And one of the most just penetrating statements, Isaiah says this, and then Jesus will quote it several times. He says, here's the scary thing. This people, they're drawing near to me externally. They're even putting right words in their mouth. They're saying the right things. And the idea is it's like they come to church and they actually even sing the songs and they say the right things. They're drawing near with their mouths, but man, their hearts, they're not there. God says they don't really want me. That's not what they're looking for. They're just going through the motions. They're satisfied with having gone to church. And I'm just telling you, if you have figured this out, that what you need is God, then that's why you're here tonight. Then what you would be saying is, I'm looking for him. I mean, it's great to see you guys. Love getting to spend time with you, and that's good connections, but that's not why I'm here. I'm not here for the food beforehand. I'm not here for the fellowship. I mean, those things are good, and I'm glad for their part, but that's not what I'm looking for. I need him. I came tonight because I needed to see God. I want to see his power. I want to see him in his glory. That what I'm after is him. And I'm just telling you, I just wish it was so. I mean, I hope so. I mean, maybe I'm entirely wrong, and maybe I'm off base, and like all of you are tonight, like, that's why I'm here, Jim. Of course, what did you think, And I just wish it was so. I wish every one of you are like, that's all that I really, when I leave here tonight, I just came to get near, I needed God to speak to me. I wanted to see him. I just wanted to see him. I just wanted him. I came tonight because I needed him. As David just says this again, as he just looks at it, he says, I have looked for you in the sanctuary. I just want to see you. I want to see your power. I want to see your glory. Can I just tell you, that's what you need? So, it's a daily seeking. It's this place where we're seeking him early, where we have this longing that nothing else will satisfy. And then even as we gather doing religious things, which are good, not bad in and of themselves, it was God we need. Can I just tell you, that's what you need? You need that more than anything else. There's nothing else you need as much as this. Maybe you feel like you need healing tonight and you're hurting. I understand. I'm sorry. We're praying for you, and I hope God does touch you. Maybe you need guidance and you're incredibly confused. Maybe you feel lonely and you're just trying to have something connect in there. Maybe there's 100 other things that are just seems like they're the big need in your life right now. They're not. They're not. Your biggest need is God. Your biggest need is his presence, like knowing him. Your biggest need is that. And so this place where you say, okay, God, you're my God. That's what I need. And as he just reasons this out, he continues this thought by adding into it, just kind of saying some of the same words, but coming from a different direction, that this is where satisfaction again is found. Notice what he says in verse 3, because your loving kindness is better than life. It's worth just catching that first word, because. It's a statement of fact. It's not a statement of wish. It's not a statement of, boy, it would be great if this was so. It is so. This is so. Because what? Because God's loving kindness, it's better than anything else in life. It's better than life itself. God's loving kindness, like knowing him, like his love being poured out into us, his just drawing us to him, and his kindness in meeting us, that's just better than anything else in life. He says, your loving kindness is just better than life. Charles Spurgeon said it this way: to dwell with God is better than life at its best. To dwell with God is better than life at its best. Whatever that is. Whatever you would say, that's life at its best. Life at its best would be fill in the blank. Whether that's riches, health, family, connections, friends, job, success. Those things, again, those are parts of life, but they are not life. Knowing God's love, it's better than that. It's better than that. So much better than that. It's so much richer than that to know that. And again, I'm just saying the words because I know that just hearing these words, this might be your phrase tonight. It just might be just to hear this: your loving kindness is better than life. And for someone, that just might be like, that's mine. That's just what I needed. That just kind of speaks right where I am. But he adds to it. He tells us because of all that, he says, because your loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise you. Thus I will bless you while I live. I will lift up my hands in your name. And you're just hearing David. He's like, because this is true, I'm so thankful. I'm responding to God. I'm worshiping him. I'm praising him. I'm blessing him. I'm lifting up my name, my hands to him because this is where life is found. That it just moves me into this response where that's what would happen to me. And just this place of saying, God, this is better. This is so much better than anything else. In verse 5, he continues the thought. He says, my soul Again, you might just note that word, soul, because it's the second time it's used. This idea of this deep part of who you are, just this depth of your personality. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise you with joyful lips. My soul, he says, that's in God's presence from him would be satisfied. So it's saying pretty much the same thing that we've said, but saying it in different words. Your flesh, your soul, it is crying out for something. You're in a dry and weary land where nothing else can satisfy. God can. In fact, here he's saying this, he does satisfy. God satisfies our soul. And that's one of those words that's kind of like a big word for me. I don't know if it works that way for anybody else, but when I look at that word satisfaction, it's like, okay, that's big. To really say, I am satisfied. I am satisfied, fully met, fully just embraced, to be satisfied. I just wonder if that even just draws you tonight, because can I just tell you again, this world does not. It doesn't satisfy. I mean, it's as if you pursue something and then you find out what Solomon would write about in Ecclesiastes. It's just empty. It's like, boy, I spend my days doing these things. I get things, and there's emptiness. It's empty. It's so unsatisfying at times. There's so much in this world that isn't satisfying. But God does, and he will. In a famous C.S. Lewis quote that some of you would know, he says, I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy. The only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. He says, I find inside me something that there's nothing here that satisfies. There's nothing. This world cannot satisfy what's inside my soul. It doesn't satisfy me. It can't satisfy. And what that just compels me to understand is that I'm longing for something else, something that is ultimately not even found here, that's going to be found in eternity. I like the way David had said it for us back in the Psalms, and I got the wrong reference there, sorry about that. But it's back in Psalm 17 where he says, as for me, I will see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awaken your likeness. I just like that. It's just one of those, again, it just rolls across my heart. If it does for anybody else, it's like, you know when I'm going to be satisfied? When I see him. You know, the day that I'm in heaven and I am fully entering into God's presence, that's what I need. That's what's going to satisfy my life. It's God. I mean, God and God alone is the thing that it satisfies. It's that which I'm pursuing. It's that which I'm longing for. And yet as David's saying this, he says, and my mouth shall praise with joyful lips. And just this idea that out of this, in response to this, there's incredible joy. I mean, to be satisfied, it's not this idea of, well, that'll do. That's okay. We'll settle. That's a complacency. No, true satisfaction is absolute joy. I think about Jesus when he was speaking about it in John 15, and he spoke to us, and he said, these things I've spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. That Jesus was speaking to them, and honestly, in John 15, he's saying everything we're saying, but just in different words. Where he's saying, I'm the vine, and you're the branches, you need me. If you abide in me, if you find me to be the thing that you would cling to and hold to, you'll find life. And Jesus says, enjoy. I'll give you joy. I'll give you my joy. And your joy could be full. I mean, not just like, I got a little joy. It's just, there's a little joy somewhere in the corner of my recesses of my heart. It's joy to the full. And that's what David's saying. He's saying, God, you satisfy. God, you are the thing that satisfies my life. You're the thing that does this. And I'm just telling you again, you just need to know that. Because if you're looking for satisfaction in anything else, you're just not going to find it. So David's seeking God. He says, God, you're my satisfaction. And now again, he's going to come after the same thought from a different direction by just recognizing what God has been to him. And just how God has sustained his life. He says it in verse 6. He says, when I remember you on my bed, I meditate on you in the night watches. So for David, he says, here's the thing. I remember you. I remember you on my bed in the night watches. And there's an interesting little connection here, right? When we read a moment ago, early will I seek you, and then at night, when I'm laying down on my bed, I'm still remembering you. I'm still doing that. And it could just be this idea that, okay, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, that's partly where I'm going with God. But this idea of remembering you on my bed and my night watches, it is also a description that's used throughout the Psalms of times in life that feel like that. In other words, there's a literalness to this. I mean, a literalness that you're laying your head down on the pillow and you're able to say, God, I'm just going to remember you. I began my day seeking you, and I'm going to end my day with you. It might be the thing that you're waking up and you can't sleep, and it's 3 a.m, and so what am I going to do? I'm going to remember God. I'm going to remember him. I'm going to let my mind just rehearse that, God, you're what I need. It could just be literal that way, but there are also things, the Bible would talk about night watches as the idea of sometimes life itself feels like night. That there are days, they're just dark days. They're just difficult days where it feels like night's in there. And what David is saying, on those nights, I'm remembering God. What I need is him. What I need right now, nothing else could satisfy. If you could offer me anything else in the night season and fully give it to me and not give me God, I would be empty. If you could heal, guide, provide, make me rich, make me successful, whatever else that has caused my life to come into a night season, and I don't have God, I'm still not going to be satisfied. But if in the middle of that night season you give me God, and I find his presence, I can be satisfied even though nothing else is still going well. David's like, when I'm in those night seasons, I'm going to remember you. When I'm there, and then he looks back on this and says, because God, you've done that. You've been my help. He looks back on those seasons that have been difficult in his life, and he says, God, you've been the one that's rescued. You've been the one that has carried me in some of those difficult times. That David was able to kind of bank into these things like, I know this. I learned this before. I hope you have as well. I hope that that's not something that finds you like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I hope you can say, I found that. There were some hard days, and you know what I found? I needed God, and he was enough for me. He was enough for me. And I knew that. And so David's able to say, I remember that because you have been my help. Therefore, he says, in the shadow of your wings, I will rejoice. Powerful picture. We've talked about it recently in the Psalms, and so I don't have time to spend a ton of time on it, but there's this picture of just dwelling under God's wings, dwelling under the shadow of his wings, under his protection, under his care, under his love, and thinking, that's what I need. You know, in the midst of life, God, is just to be in your presence, to have you protect me, to have your, wings come over me, to have who you are. Therefore, he says, because of that, because that's the things that are there. Just as I look at that, he says, therefore in the shadow of your wings, I will rejoice. Because God is this, because he does this, that's what I'm going to have. And he adds to it this idea that because of that, because God has been my help, he says, my soul follows close behind you. Your right hand upholds me. Some of your translations will say it differently. It will speak not just of my soul following behind, because the Hebrew word here can speak of far better just clinging to him. It's the idea is like my soul, I'm going to grab hold of you and I'm not going to let go. It's like my soul's not just following you, I'm clinging to you. Or we would even again use what Jesus talked about in John 15. Abide in Christ. It's like, I'm not letting go. God, what I need is you. God, you are the one that I need. And because that's so, and I can look back and remember how you've done that before, and I can remember you at the night, here's what I'm doing. I am grabbing hold of you. And I'm saying, God, I'm following you. God, what I need is you. God, what I'm after is you. My soul follows close behind you. And your right hand, he says, your right hand, it just upholds me. That God's strength is there, that what he is in our life is a God that cares about us and watches over us. But it is, again, all out of this place of just finding God himself to be there. So through all these words, what David is saying, in my life, in this hard seasons, in difficult places, what I've discovered and what I need is God. It is God that I need. Oh God, you are my God. Oh God, you are my God. And just to cling to him. And again, I just am imagining. I could be wrong. But I think even as we read some of these words, someone here tonight is going to say, that was mine. You need to be able to say, therefore, in the shadow of your wings, I'm going to rejoice. It's like, yep, that's what I need right now. I just need to kind of nestle myself under his wings and say, God, in this season, I just need to be close to you. God, I just need to have you kind of watch over me. Someone else is going to say, no, what my word is tonight is my soul. My soul follows close behind, by the way. That's the third time, right? Soul. Where he'd said, I have a longing, I have a thirst in my soul that nothing else can satisfy. That he was able to say that my soul will be satisfied in him. And then here he is able to say, my soul follows close behind. Like the depth of who I am, God, it's after you. And just I'm after. That's what I need. That's my life. That's my sustenance. That's what sustains me. That's my help. And I just want to tell you it's true. And this is where it's found. But it's not found just in what God does. It's found out in who God is. That I know I'm saying the same thing in bunches of different words, but that's the point of this. There are things that you feel like you need tonight. And that's good, and God cares about those things. It tells us in Romans 8, if God gives us Christ, won't he freely give us all things? It's not that God doesn't care about you. He does care about your pain. He does care about your confusion. He does care about some of the things where you need guidance. He does care, and his right hand would uphold you, but he'll tell you, as I'm telling you right now, that's not going to satisfy. You need him. That he would be the source in the midst of those night seasons, that he would be the thing that would carry, that it would be his presence that you would look after, that it would be his desires that you're pursuing, that you would long for that, find that. That's what David's saying. He says, here's what I found. I'm seeking God. He's my satisfaction. He's the thing that sustains me. He's the thing that upholds me. And then he gazes forward in a way that, we'll say it this way, that he finds his security. We might even say eternal security. We might even say his confidence, his hope moving forward in God. He says it this way, but, verse 9, those who seek my life to destroy it, they shall go to the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion of the jackals. He says there are those who are seeking my harm. But you know what? It's not going to work out well for them. They're going to fall. They're going to fall. Those things which are our enemies, those things are adversary to God and his good ways, those who seek to destroy my life, those who seek to do all that, they're going to go to the lower parts. They're going to fail, and they're going to fall. That there's a confidence here that David is saying about who God is in his life, that this isn't necessarily a request, which is a little bit interesting. Again, we could be thinking, okay, what is it David's thinking about? If this is when Saul's pursuing his life, he could be thinking about that. If it's the time that he's running from Absalom, he might be thinking about that. But either way, he's not making this a request for the moment. That's not really what he's saying. This isn't like one of those things where he's saying, God, this is really bad. Fix this. Deliver me. Deal with my enemies. I mean, he says that in other Psalms. That's a good place to pray. We should. That's not what he's saying. He's just looking forward. It's like they're all going to fail. There are things that are just at war with God, and they're at war with my soul, and they're at war with my life. They're seeking my harm, but they are going to go to the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall. They shall be a portion of the jackals. I mean, that's where this is going. That's where this evil world and its brokenness, it's all going to go away. It's all going to end, and he's just noting that, and then he says, but, as he looks on this, verse 11, but the king shall rejoice in God, and everyone who swears by him shall glory. But the king shall or will rejoice in God. Now, just technical little moment. Let's just walk around this for a second. When David says king, he could be referring to himself. In fact, probably most likely, it's where most Bible students go with this. If he says this in the days where he's running from Saul, that's a fascinating thing because he's not actually king yet. And so some would say, well, no, but he's so confident that God's going to do that in his life, and so he's able to make this as a prophetic statement. That would be true. I mean, to know that God's going to do it. Or maybe it's in the days that he's running from Absalom and he's just confident that God's not going to allow him to be, totally obscure, that he's going to get back on the throne. Could be. Both of those would be good answers. It's interesting, if David is doing this, again, he has moved from speaking personally to moving to the third person. That if this is him, that he just switched from, God, you are my God, early will I seek you, to the king. The king will rejoice in God. So there's a possibility that's just prophetic, and maybe it's just a humble way to state that. But there is another possibility, and some of your minds are maybe already going there. The Holy Spirit might have been inserting something far deeper, that the king isn't David, the king is Jesus. That the king is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and the king is the king who is going to be the king over the kingdom, that we're looking forward to the end times, and we're looking forward, and he's making these confident assertions. It's like, God, everything that's warring against you, it's going to go away. But there's a king. There's a king who is going to rejoice, who's going to find his joy. And it is. I mean, as we think about what's coming in eternity and we think about what's ahead of us, it is Jesus' joy. I mean, it is his joy that God's going to be accomplishing in his work that's going to be taking place in all this. And so if that's where he's going, he says, well, everybody who swears by him, who finds their life kind of tucked into him, they're going to glory. And maybe that's a good way to state it. And if I can just even apply it, can I just tell you it's true? God is the only thing that satisfies. And if you know him, then Psalm 17 is true. When you awake and you see him in glory, you're going to be satisfied. If that is yours, it's yours because of Jesus. If that is yours, it's yours because we have a king, one who came and laid down his life for us and rescues. And if that is yours, then you'll be able to say it's because he's the king, because of who he is, and I'm putting my glory, my whole confidence of my glory, it's him. I have no other boast, Paul would say. I have nothing else I glory in save him. He's my confidence. He's my glory. And if that's where you are, there's hope there. And it's such incredible hope. And I just need to say, if that's not where you have your hope, then that is where you need to have your hope. But the king, he says, that's what's going to happen. The king is going to rejoice in this, but then all those who speak lies, they're going to be stopped. As he looks on all of this, he just says, as he says it, he says, but the mouth of those who speak lies, it's just going to be over. All that is deception, and we think about what the Bible tells us. Jesus said, Satan's a liar. He is a liar. It's what he does. It permeates our world. But there's a day coming that's not. And there is a sense of of David looking and saying, what I am confident about is that that's what's coming. And there's a day when the dust all settles that what I really needed, I'll have. It's God. He's my glory. He's my confidence. That's what I'm going to be satisfied in. It's going to be him, that what I need more than anything else is that I've desperately needed him, that he's the one that I desire, and he's the one that I'm pursuing. There is a sense of just longing that would be even where we are tonight, that just thinking through what David is saying, he's saying, okay, here's the deal. God is what I need. I needed him more than I need any other thing. C.S. Lewis would say it this way. He says, the greatest battle we ever face as followers of Jesus is keeping first things first. I just want you to think about that for a moment, because as we begin to circle towards a close this evening, that's the point of this psalm. Keeping first things first. Finding that there's nothing else that will satisfy your soul except God. Nothing. You need him. You need him more than anything else you think you need. And yet one of the greatest battles of your day right now is to keep first things first. Maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're here tonight and you're like, Jim, that's what I'm doing. And I'm so glad to be walking in that. I am finding God to be my satisfaction. Thank God. Or maybe you've drifted even just a little bit. Maybe what you need to hear, I feel I need it tonight. It's just like, God, that's what I need. I need God. That is what I need. He's what I long for. He's my satisfaction. I need to keep that first. C.S. Lewis went on to say it this way. He said, but put first things first, and we get second things thrown in. Put second things first, and we lose both first and second things. He says, when you put God first, when God's first in your life, it's as if everything else begins to fall into place. Put second things first. And you don't get that second thing, and you don't get the first thing either. get it all out of whack, get that priority mixed up, get it messed up, and not only do you not get the thing you're seeking, you lose everything. Because none of that's really meant to satisfy. What we desperately need is to have first things first. And I'm just telling you, I believe God's speaking to you tonight. And it's different around the room. I've been praying and I'm asking even now, maybe there's just like one sentence, maybe there's like one phrase in this psalm that's just as if God's just holding it before you. Maybe He's telling you, your soul is thirsty. Nothing else will satisfy. Maybe He's talking to you about being satisfied. Maybe He's reminding you who He is. Maybe He's telling you, hey, my loving kindness, it is better than life. To know God, to walk with Him, it's better than anything else. I don't know what it is, but I believe God's holding it out to you and saying, this is what you need. And it's true. Whether you're a brand new Christian or you've been a Christian for decades. It's true if you're having a hard time right now, you need Him more than you need anything else. If it's not having a hard time like now, like life's going okay, you need Him more than you need anything else. Wherever your life is found right now, I can just say authoritatively, you need Him. Your soul is thirsty for something that only He can satisfy. So let's close our Bibles. You can take the book and close it, and I hope that in the midst of it, one of these phrases God just gave you, but I hope it's more than just interesting. I hope, I'm longing and praying, that God would be drawing you. That tonight would have been a night, it's like, that's the path I needed to be on. That's what I needed to be seeking. It is to find my life, my help, my hope, my source, my being in Him. So I'm going to lead us in prayer, and then Pastor Phil's going to just close with a couple worship songs, and I'm hoping in the midst of it that you would seek Him. Or to use the words from our psalm, in the sanctuary, in the gathering of God's people, I'm looking for Him. I need Him. You know what I need? I need God. I need to see His glory. I need to see His power. So let's pray for that. God, I know this, that we come tonight and life is different. It is just in different spaces and places in our lives. But 100%, Lord, what we need more than we need anything else is we need You. Our souls are thirsty for what can only be found in You. Lord, Your loving kindness, it is better than life. Lord, to dwell under the shadow of Your wing. To find that soul satisfaction from You. God, would You draw us to that? And just knowing we need it, knowing that what we need tonight is You. And gazing forward to know that eternity's coming, and that's going to be so much more clear then. When everything that's in rebellion, and everything that is a lie, and everything that is warring against You and Your kingdom, it's all going to go away, it's going to dissipate. And Jesus, You'll stand as King in the kingdom. And for those of us who are Yours, we will put all of our glory in You, and we will find our souls satisfied. And I am so glad. But tonight, would You help us just to pursue that, to look for You? For me, Lord, I'm looking for You. I need You. And I ask that You just draw us to You tonight in a very real way. Please, in these final moments as we just worship, help us not just to draw near to You with our words and have our hearts far from You. Help our words and our hearts to connect in pursuing and looking for You tonight. We're asking for that together in Jesus' name.